rest of the series. On is, I believe, 10-0, or 8-0, I should say, on the pick. I expect that to be denied for the entirety of it. What teams have started to figure out with draft is that you can actually change up your bans as time goes on, which I really like. What I'm not a giant fan of is this first pick Pantheon. Okay, yeah, I think we're just going to get a rumble here for 369. Has been a big pick for him. Oh, okay, it is first pick Pantheon. There's a lot of ways to counter Pantheon and beat it. I'm expecting that we might see Knight take away Talia, as that has been his most played, and it would deny the combo.
And you compare that alongside something like the Xin Zhao, and still be perfectly fine if you are BLG. The benefit of being blue side, yeah, here in game number 1, is the fact that you do have all these power picks, and so seeing BLG get Rumble Talia on this 1-2 rotation because you decided to be one this Pantheon, to me it kind of takes away from a lot of what blue side is good for, because it feels like these two champions that BLG picked up for their solo lanes are arguably stronger in the meta than what Top Esports currently have.
Jace would be a big one, though. It's a champ that Bin has not played. So I know that's a little bit of a surprise, as Jace was quite good in Split 1, but we really just haven't seen it from him in Split 2. It has been a really good pick for 369, and looks like some tankiness in the mid lane for Creme, as his Silas is always good. And hey, we got to talk about Fearless. Good deny away from Knight, as it actually ends up being the Rise, which is a really big pick for Creme as well. Rise, of course, saw some buffs on this patch, and Creme, his Rise is 9-1 throughout Split 2.
And I already am going back to that keys to the game graphic that we talked about for Top Esports, and the importance of side laning in the mid game, and that is exactly what Top Esports have set themselves up for here in the first 3 picks of this draft. Having Jace and Rise being able to get that priority, shove those waves out, and be impactful on the side lane is going to be very, very good for what TES like to do overall, and what typically is a part of their formula for victory. There's the Vi that you were talking about for Knight. It's going to be paired alongside the Talia in the mid jungle. A lot of long range engage for BLG as we enter the second phase of bans.
Yeah, they don't want to play the Xayah themselves. Not very good against the Rune Prisons. They're going to take that one away. I like that ban for BLG. As gotta say, Top Esports, really tanky core they have at the moment between the Jace and the Rise. I like the fact that Grapes, you're highlighting the solo lane dominance and side laning potential that Top Esports has. Play fast with Pantheon, always nice. I think that BLG, I'm curious what ends up happening. What we started to see with bot lanes quite a bit is that there are just some power pick supports that you can take, like Alistar, and you can actually end up saving counter pick for AD. I'm wondering if that ends up being the call here.
Yeah, I mean, interesting to see the bot lanes kind of being pushed towards the back half of this draft for both sides, as it seems to be a lot of safe AD carries that BLG want to get away from JackeyLove. This Misfortune has been one of his highly prioritized picks throughout the split, and it's something that, you know, doesn't necessarily have a lot of agency, and we haven't necessarily seen a ton of it from JackeyLove so far this split. I'm still looking at things like the Ezreal that he's played pretty well on this year as being options, and also providing some safety against the point-and-click crowd control of this Vi from Beichuan.
Yeah, I think that Ezreal would be actually a really reasonable takeaway. Something I was noticing when looking at some of the champ pools. JackeyLove, a ton of success on the Ezreal and the Varus. But after that, with some of the other champions that he's found, I don't think he's been as dominant of a player as JackeyLove. I think is still a very, very good player, but again, has not had the best split we've seen out of what we're used to seeing from JackeyLove, even with his team being that #1 seed. So I like this deny. Elks Ezreal is also fantastic. That's been a really big pick for JackeyLove, but I believe it's time to be a superhero, Grapes. Kaisa made it through the pick ban phase, and I mean, we can see what ADs can do on this champion, especially in the LPL. At times, it just feels like a cheat code being able to play Kaisa in team fights. We'll see if it ends up being big for JackeyLove. And Crisp in the bot lane is that Alistar is going to be locked in.
Giving JackeyLove that go button with that killer instinct is going to be very exciting, especially with the flank potential and the collapsibility of Top Esports composition, both with Kanavi in the Grand Starfall, as well as potential flank angles set up by the side laning power of 369 and Creme. We're waiting for that last pick to be locked in here for Bilibili Gaming, as what does On have to play into Crisp's Alistar? It's going to be the Braum. Provides a little bit of safety and protection from a lot of the long-range artillery that Top Esports also possess.
Yeah, I was maybe thinking we'd actually get Leona there, as I know Braum, like, having Vi as solo main engage is hard. And for me, the first pick, Pantheon, Kanavi's going to be okay this game. I think my beef with Pantheon has been you have to be able to win the front line. The fact that he has an Alistar or Jace, it's going to be tanky enough where Pantheon can go in and function. think it can be tough to play against Talia Braum, but we should be able to see Kanavi actually play out that early game well. I think that big thing for me, the pushing lanes for top esports, it's got to be 369 in that top lane, because we talked about the full court press. It really doesn't feel like they have that right now. The Ezreal Braum should be able to get priority at least very early on. And then you have Talia into Ryze, where Talia, again, should be able to get priority really early on. So I'm curious to see if Kanavi, who does have a winning jungle matchup early, can break that. And for me, looking at top lane, if you set Rumble behind, that lane can get really volatile and positive for Jace. So specifically attack bin game 1.
A lot on the line here. Winner claiming that upper final as the game 1 draft has been set. Before we get into game, let's take a look at our predictions across the board here on LPL English for where we think this series is going. Maybe one of our most one-sided or our most closely contested matchup in terms of those predictions as well, Cubby, as I think both of us favor BLG in this series, but a lot of our community members still believe in that #1 seed in top esports.
So I'm BLG 3-1. I do think this draft is decent for top esports. Their ability to play side lane with a Pantheon Ryze is going to be a lot. So let's see if BLG can use their early game to get a lead early and try and push things from there.
There's our predictions real quick here as, yeah, again, kind of a little bit back and forth. It seems like everybody who picked top esports more on that 3-2 side, as I think we're about to load in on to the Rift for this game #1 of our upper bracket semifinals. Top esports BLG, let's do it.
I'm sure the Giants were powerful.
I think we might have missed them. Yeah,
I'm sure they were powerful. That's all right. That's all right, Crepes. We're going to have to see how much more powerful they can get throughout the series. Is taking inventory. Looks like we did have Ezreal Braum, of course, level 1. Quite nice if you are on, and BLG with his Braum. So, going to use it to get a priority ward down and actually clear out a defensive ward for Kanavi. As On going to be rocking the spellbook this game as well. Got some changes on 15-11. Definitely important to note, as of course Creme also got some changes. W damage down, but that overload Q damage up a bit. Definitely upping some of Ryze's early power.
Yeah, I know I've been following Strampus, who's a North American Ryze main here on X or Twitter.
He thinks Ryze is very imba.
He thinks it's very, very powerful with the amount of pushing power that it has in the early game. Trying to kind of taken away from one of the better, taking away one of the weaknesses that Ryze has, right? Which is not being able to do too much, you know, pre-level 11 or something like that. So Creme, who already is very successful on this Ryze, as we're seeing here in that lower third, going to be a little bit of a harder player to move, especially in terms of that wave clear in the early game, which is where is going to want to try to find that advantage for himself.
You can see Beichuan, that's 1-0 with BLG. Hasn't played a ton of the Vi. He's actually been much more going for the Xin, for the Skarner. I know it is a big champion for Kanavi. I believe it's his most played, but the win rate's not super impressive. So I was thinking there might be a world where wait, are we going to flash? Okay. The camera panned there, and I was like, are we flashing over a wall? No, but we might be dodging out on a ward that was spotted to look mid and look in. As bot lane has been really doing their best to push heavily, and Kanavi at level 3 is going to be the stronger jungler right now. So I think him finding Beichuan could be quite nice.
And we're already seeing Creme get some push here. There's the power of that early game Ryze now on this new patch. And Kanavi jumps over the wall with the blast cone and will steal away that Raptor, or that Wolf camp. But now could be collapsed upon here as the bot lane of BLG is going to be here first. Kanavi is in some trouble right now. He's able to flash towards Creme, and Creme's going to go forward with the Rune Prison of his own. The Comet Spear from downtown will secure first blood for TES.
Knight being level 2 made a difference in Kanavi, able to get help from Creme, flashes, and that secures a kill. As a bit of a oopsie here for BLG. I don't think that Beichuan was respectful of what could have went down there. Was not able to flash out or kind of get the flash and buffer the Rune Prison. Even if that was the case, I think a Pantheon Q could have gotten the kill, but unfortunately have an early pause. Just kind of killing some of the hype and the action. Is I gotta say, I kind of misread some of these early lanes. The fact that Creme was able to get pushed like that on Knight and actually support the invade was a little bit surprising for me. It ended up being really impactful.
I mean, yeah, I knew that the Ryze power got, you know, the Ryze wave clear got buffed a little bit, but I was not expecting that level of efficiency in the first 3 levels there for Creme, as he was able to both chunk out Knight on his Talia and then get there first to play, which meant that Kanavi actually had an angle and had an area of escape instead of just being collapsed upon by 4 members of BLG.
Yeah, wondering if, I know we got some time to kill. Maybe we might be able to pull up a clip of that one on our own, as that would be something interesting to talk about. I gotta say, between that and then the Kaisa Alistar getting to the wave first was also a really big deal, because JackeyLove was actually able to get some push there. So they were able to somewhat support what was going on in terms of that invade. And again, having that... Oh, yeah, let's go. It looks like we're back to live. Back in game. That was quick. Fortunately, out of the pause, Grapes, and back into the action.
Yeah, they didn't do like the typical transition. So I thought we were maybe going to a replay of our own or something there. But no, we are here back here into this game with a slight advantage for Top Esports and for Kanavi, who, again, forcing the initiative off of that early invade into the bottom side jungle of Bilibili Gaming. Still a lot more to play, though, as it is actually been getting the early push here in this top side of the map. Let's see if Kanavi does have another target to go for there.
Again, Beichuan going to have to be relegated to the deprioed crab. And this is the matchup top where I think Kanavi can really flip. Again, Pantheon plus Jace into Rumble, your ability to try and overwhelm that pick. And then if Rumble does get behind, your ability to attack it in the side lane, something their comp does really well. It's very real. As Beichuan actually going to get a nice pickup here with the respawn Raptor camp. That's really, really good. The fact he's able to pick this up, even despite going down. A little bit surprised. You're going to see Kanavi actually looks like he found the answer too. But the fact that he was even able to handshake, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, Kanavi was
it's not
spotted
up
on
yet.
vision
Yeah.
on the top side jungle, which meant
That's
that
great.
Beichuan knew exactly that where he was, and that he could just go for that second camp steal. And yeah, as you mentioned, because Beichuan started at the Krugs first, actually it was a little bit desynced on the timer, which meant he's able to actually get that camp advantage right back.
Didn't take the Raptors first, right? Went the Red Krugs Raps, so the fact that those were desynced, it actually gets both. Again, that's really nice for Beichuan, who did go down early, but hey, he's got his flash, and after his next base will be somewhat on par. I think what it really hurts overall, though, is a potential Dragon timer. Whenever you have Vi, Denting Blow is so good at taking that early Drake. Right now, we are seeing Elk based first. So I'm curious, you know, usually you want to be on that Drake around 5:30. At the moment, we have JackeyLove basing, and if it is an appearance at the Dragon, and Beichuan's going to be under leveled and under items, as On's a little far up here.
Yeah, trying to hold that wave before crashing under the turret, but actually going to just force the flash out of the Braum. Nicely done by Crisp and Kanavi to set up the play, as that did take away their potential Dragon timer, with Beichuan now into that bottom side jungle once again, but it could be a dive. In effect, is on again, doesn't have the flash, gonna get jumped on here by Kanavi.
Creme's here.
And here comes the knockup again. Crisp gonna take the entirety of that turret aggro first.
Whoa.
Unbreakable doing so much. And allowing for Elk to pick himself up a double kill, and Kanavi's trapped underneath the tier 1 turret. Not gonna find the Ezreal. It's a tower shot will take him down. Not a good play from Top Esports there, as BLG finds 3 kills.
That's a terrible play. They lost their damn mind, Grapes. What are they doing with the dive? They didn't drop the aggro. So when Chris went back in, I'm okay if he's going into like pretty much sell himself to make the play, but the aggro didn't drop. It didn't reset on the minions, so it was fully heated up. Creme got gunned down with 2 turret shots. And that lead for Top Esports, we're talking about jungle itemization, taking an early Dragon. They throw it all to the wayside with a bad dive. And Kanavi going for the trade here. He takes 2 tower shots. Those aren't necessary. Chris needs to let that hit the creeps like twice. You can't go once, because look at Creme. He gets absolutely melted down. Yeah, they want to pull the play off quickly because BLG was coming to rotate, but that was way too fast. Top Esports lose their minds a little bit here and give BLG a huge way back into the game, like cleaning up those kills, getting the Dragon, and actually being set up all right.
And I'm going to say it. I'm going to be controversial here. I don't think burning Braum Flash is the go button for going for that dive, when Elk didn't have to burn a single summoner spell off of that play either.
Ooh.
And
Bin,
also,
I thought Bin could have R'd there and actually might have been able to turn that one.
he already had the flash away. I don't know how much gap closing he would have had. And also, just with the plated steel caps, would have not had a ton of damage, I don't think.
Yeah, maybe not. Could have been close, but man, that is a huge win for BLG. They even got the first thing of feats. They got the first objective, and again, if that goes differently, that Dragon would have been in the hands of Top Esports, but they didn't have JackeyLove base either before they went for that play. I think the way they played it out, they botched it in the first place, but Man, what a tough start for Top Esports after a really positive first blood from Kanavi onto Beichuan with the help of his friends. That's not the full court press we're used to seeing as they kind of fumbled in the backcourt there.
It was an 8-second violation, yeah.
They turned it over the backcourt. Yeah.
They spent way too long going for that play. And again, Elk didn't even have to burn a summoner spell to now pick up 2 kills for himself. And now head over to the mid lane as Weaver's Wall is coming out from Knight. Target could be Crisp, who does not have the flash. However, they're actually buying a lot of time for Kanavi to arrive. Chris will be taken down as Elk goes on a killing spree here early in game number 1, and there's nothing Kanavi can do about it.
That's the other thing. We didn't even talk about where that gold went. It went into the pockets of Elk as they make the play mid, take down the Alistar for free before he hits 6. Creme getting a little bit on the side lane, but I think BLG is okay with that, given the fact they're picking up the neutral objective in the Grubs.
So what was such a good early game for Top Esports suddenly flipped on its head as BLG not only had that slight gold lead and all the gold, by the way, on their big carry of Ezreal, as going to be the Grand Starfall coming in to at least make it a 2-for-1 in the Grub department. But BLG still have that neutral objective advantage as well, including that first dragon that they were able to claim for themselves off of that unfortunate dive.
Yeah, of course, new split too, or a Spirit Blossom map. The 2-to-1 does count towards objective when it comes to the feats. So we've seen those boots be a little bit more powerful this time around. And man, I gotta say, when you're playing Kai'Sa into Ezreal, like this matchup in particular, it's so difficult when the Ezreal gets ahead like this because the poke that you're gonna be able to connect with. And your support's an Alistar, right? I mean, Alistar, I think, is the best support that we have right now in terms of engaging, but you're not getting through an Ezreal Braum, right? Like, you're playing this Alistar for pretty much the rest of the fight. Any poke that connects on the JackeyLove is going to stick, and that poke is going to hurt all that much worse, given that Elk is not just ahead in items, but also is going to be ahead in levels, too, which can really hurt when you're going up against an Ezreal, so... not able to complete the Triforce will be a first item for JackeyLove, but JackeyLove has to be careful here because there's a real chance he can get peppered down as interesting swap coming out from BLG. They're going to put Knight back mid. Maybe going to look for another play with that Weaver's Wall once he has it available.
And for Top Esports side, we're already seeing the Soul Laners set themselves up in these side laning situations and allowing for Creme to farm up nicely on the top side of things, where 369 going to still actually maintain a bit of a lead for himself in terms of just pure CS.
Jackie
Beichuan gonna immediately find JackeyLove here in the Top Esports jungle, but the reinforcements were there. Beichuan knows he cannot send the ulti with not the full play being set up here for BLG.
At least able to get some scouting down as he sees that Kanavi also going top to bot still. As I will say, item advantage right now, I do think that Beichuan needs to reset before they can actually make a play, as it's a Sundered Sky being completed for Kanavi. And yeah, there's Beichuan getting his as well. So now that that's evened up and we have Weaver's Wall coming off cooldown, need to see BLG make a play. They do have level 6 in tow, and I think this part of the game for BLG really important that they are explosive, given that the chance for Vitality to one-shot people before those tankier items come in for Top Esports. And just the strength they have before really these side lanes can get rolling for top with the items that will come in.
So yeah, I mean, our explosive early game certainly has delivered so far. Objectives have been traded back and forth. We've seen some dives, some nice plays here set up so far by Knight and BLG, as the mid jungle is going to be continuously important here. Looks like they could be looking for a play on the 369 or Kanavi as he spotted an award. Does not have that knockup from the ball breaker connect, though. Kanavi going to get hit up here by that seismic shove, but Knight's not going to be able to do any damage on him with the Aegis being popped.
I think it's enough, though, just with the positioning they have in the waves, where they're going to hit this and melt it. As, okay, TP coming in. This Dragon's going to go over, but you got to believe there's a fight coming in after.
It's a little too late for Kanavi to be jumping in. Chris gonna try to find the engage, but it's matched by the arcane shift from Elk. And in goes Creme, but he might have sent 369 to his doom with the Realm Warp, as it's 5 members strong for Top Esports. Gonna be able to knock in Beichuan and take him down. And a 2-man pulverize does come through from Chris with the Unbreakable Will on top of him. But now Bin is here, the equalizer separating the fight, and JackeyLove's able to get a kill onto Elk, and Kanavi flashes under the tower to get a kill onto On. So far a 2-for-1 in favor of Top Esports. Knight forced to flash away, and Bin running for the hills as well. Top Esports get the fight, but the dragon goes to Bilibili.
Yeah, a weird fight here. BLG, they do pick up the feats, but Top Esports were able to go in. Bin was late to the fight, and that equalizer didn't connect with any big CC. And frankly, with the items that they had there, like for the fight, we did see Kanavi get a lot of work down as Beichuan way overplayed his hand. Hold on, we're hunting?
We know that he's in the bush. Are we going to spot out Knight? Oh, Weaver's Wall comes out. It gets canceled, though, and the Comet Spear takes him down. Kanavi with kill number 4 in this game as all of a sudden Top Esports right back in the driver's seat.
That's a massive win for Kanavi, as that's a Weaver's Wall cooldown down as well. As take another look. I thought that the engage was whiffed here by Top, and BLG could have walked out, but this Realm Warp guarantees there has to be a play. I'm really surprised that they took this, like, on and Beichuan going forward. Get out. You could have Bin play a side lane for free. Even just giving away Beichuan's okay, but with Realm Warp and Grant Starfall being used, I don't think you have to take a fight from there. Even like Chris flashed to find the first engage. It's a decent timer for BLG to take the fight, but with Beichuan and Bin being split up on top of, you know, Bin being late, he couldn't layer the equalizer with the Braum ult. He couldn't layer it with a Talia setup, couldn't layer it with a cease and assist, and when that ult kind of goes wide, a lot of the power goes flat. So I feel like BLG really mis-executed that by just taking the fight. If they accept the fact the Top is there first and back off, they could have played the map really well from there on out, even just dropping one.
Yeah, I mean, BLG already very happy with what they got off of that play because
Exactly.
they got the second dragon. That's exactly what their goal was, of pushing Kanavi out of the jungle in the first place. But it just was the fight that ensued that now results in Top Esports having themselves about a 1,500 gold lead. Results in Kanavi being 4-1-2. And also JackeyLove able to pick up a kill on the back end of things here, evening himself up in gold with Elk, who got such an early lead.
And I was really surprised by a couple of the plays that we've been taking as both of these teams. But again, talk about explosive early games, explosive teams. Both teams trying to really push the pace. I will say, this Jace in the side lane has very quietly been really big, or getting really big, and with Kanavi on this Pantheon too, again, I'm really concerned for Bin moving forward. I think that if I'm Top Esports, wherever Bin is, that's the giant blinking red light to go attack that Rumble, and try and really change or flip that matchup on the side lane.
Right now, he's situated on the top side of things. The Rift Herald has spawned. Looks like Beichuan has vision onto Chris. He'll try to collapse upon him with the Ball Breaker, but knowing that all of Top Esports is there, looks like instead he's going to dash on out and wait for the fight to begin in earnest. The Glacial Fissure lands onto 2, but there's no further engage from that. That's a big cooldown now off of BLG as Top Esports make their way towards the Herald.
That's a big combo with Equalizer that's not available now for BLG. Do you think that's significant? As Pawn gonna have to hop out of there, but if BLG kind of keeps this formation and keeps the fast path to mid, you can see 369 can't really join. He's pretty strong, but he's okay. That's a decent shock blast. No E was burned, but Elk can poke. So it's his poke versus 369's, and right now Elk's winning.
Oh,
as Chris, he's forced all the way out, and that just might be the Herald dropped. As Chris is going to have to reset, and it looks like Top Esports returning to some of these waves.
Oh, and look at On trying to cancel some of the bases as well. Making sure that Top Esports don't have the opportunity to reset. Also, don't want to go for the fight either. The Weaver's Wall going to block him in. Actually send Chris into the pit. Kanavi not going to be able to get over there. So it is Beichuan securing himself the Rift Herald. Creme doing some damage into the front line. Locket already popped by On. Here goes the Ball Breaker forward. JackeyLove has been collapsed upon. The Realm Warp's going to send Chris into the Pulverize. Doesn't find a single target. Now Bin on the back line. Going to be collapsed upon by Creme. He has a lot more HP and a lot more work to deal with. But on the other side of the fight, it's BLG winning out. And Bin's going to yeet himself out with the teleport and say, CY at sign, baby. Beichuan forcing his way underneath the tier 1 turret. Kanavi at 200 health. And Top Esports mid jungle in a severe amount of trouble here.
Oh my god, Chad, Gigabin is back in a way that I wasn't expecting. The TP out. What was that? Cream's going down too. Is the TP coming in? That's not going to save Creme in time. BLG, they find the objective in the fight win off of a really hectic fight from Top Esports where Elk was able to just be the Ezreal in the back line, unpressured, undeterred, and peppered down Top.
Oh boy, if this is the kind of game we're going to get here in our upper semifinals, y'all better lock in because it's been back and forth and back and forth. Top Esports win a fight, BLG win a fight right back, and this was a pure display from Bilibili, and it starts with that Weaver's Wall from Knight.
Yeah, that was really nice. It got him split. Kanavi going in a little bit early. JackeyLove was pushed out by Beichuan, who ended up having a really nice fight, actually. And then Bin just 1v3, able to zone out the rest of Top Esports. And then I was like, is that a spectator bug? What's going on? No, he hit the yeet button. He's out of there, man. Get me back to the turret. Bin was calculated as now that soul point secured as we get off that too. And we talked about these early games armors race grapes. And in this game, it really felt like, with the Kai'Sa, the Ryze, the Jace, there was a little bit more scaling in top esports comp that Pantheon had to bridge. With that botched dive from top esports on the bot lane, BLG, it feels like they had more strength early on. Man, they've really used it to stack up these dragons. I don't think Ocean Soul is the best role for them to try and snowball this game forward, but hey, the Soul sure as hell helps.
And getting more gold onto Elk going to be more and more important too. Nearing that full Muramana as well as the Trinity Force. I mean, we've already seen the amount of poke damage he was able to do onto Crisp to start that fight before the Rift Herald was initially aggroed. And now we're going to see maybe some more power from Elk as everybody collapsing upon JackeyLove and taking the Kai'Sa down in the mid lane.
I gotta say, I know that we kind of put up spotlight on JackeyLove as a player that, one of the best ADs that LPL has to offer, but hasn't been the form that we're used to seeing from JackeyLove. That last fight, he burned both the Summoner spells for really nothing. So seeing him get locked up there by a good Vitalia play from Beichuan and Knight, well played by BLG, but that play pretty easy to make when JackeyLove is down flash, down cleanse. And top esports not able to peel for him as the numbers at the moment in BLG's favor, and they use it well in the mid lane.
And Panthalia is always the combo that we shout out here on the LPL, and we see the teams really highly prioritize. You can lock somebody down with a stun, follow that up with a seismic shove.
You know why, though,
You can do that with Vi, though, as well, and we saw that from Beichuan.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be Vitalia, but then Vi was just permabanned in the league, so, it's fine. We just use the Pantheon now.
And, the cooldown might be a little bit longer on the cease and desist compared to just the jump forward here for Kanavi, but the value all the same, as we saw JackeyLove get melted before he could do anything about it. Now BLG, they took the top lane tier 1, and looks like they're going to try to continue the play here as top esports go forward with the grand starfall from Kanavi, and it results in 369 picking up a big shutdown.
Beichuan, he ditched the team in. That was the right call. Good play in the side lane from Kanavi, as Kanavi continues to have a pretty solid game here. Going into Beichuan again. Mid-jungle matchup grapes, definitely one that we have a close eye on in this game, just given that this is the biggest series that Beichuan's ever played in. A win here guarantees his best finish ever in the LPL. And he's going up against the MVP in Kanavi. But of course, on the flip side, Knight's been a bit of a father of every mid laner in the LPL, and Creme has not been able to escape that except for Split 1 playoffs. So Knight has been on fire and was our MVP vote when it came to our voting for the LPL English. So definitely kind of a fun matchup, just given that we have the two MVPs going up against each other. Then Creme at this point, old enough where it's not like we're trying to see him grow into his role. And Creme, frankly, good enough on this rise. Again, this pick 9-1 for him in the regular season. Been a big one, and Creme has done his best to try and stuff up in this one, and could really be a pain later on. I gotta pause for a moment, Grapes. I know that we have our favorite AI in the bottom, but it's a Rylai's for Knight second on Talia. I know that they took 10 AP off Leandri's, but we've been seeing the Rylai's be built on Azir, which I quite like. I haven't seen it yet on the Talia, as this is a little bit different, a little bit awkward, because you already have two slows built in your kit with the Q on workaround and the E, but now it's just going to be throwing it out perma. It could really help buy space, though, for Ezreal and help set up the Rumble. It's got to be the idea here.
Yeah, I think just making sure on the initial threaded volleys before the upgrade ones on the workaround, like being able to buy some more space, some more slowing power.
If you catch Kai'Sa with that, right? Like, how big of a pain is that?
And by the way, Knight are personal MVP ballot winners. If you want the full LPL English reveal, you got to wait until we unveil that a little bit later on in the playoff bracket. So stay tuned here to twitch.tv/LPL English for that. As BLG generating control in the mid lane right now. Weaver's Wall coming out from Knight to block away Chris and the rest of his team. But it doesn't look like the dive is what they want. They instead just want some chip damage on this tower. However, the Weaver's Wall not finding too much value there, as Kanavi was working on a flank.
Yeah, I think top's going to be relegated to playing through bot here, as we do see True Shot Barrage burned on the wave. Of course, top have to fight this. This is Ocean Soul on the table for BLG. And at the moment, mid-wave control going over to the Ezreal. And no surprise here. But how top can play into this is going to be a little bit tricky.
And you see Ezreal super strong right now with those two completed items. He's headed back to base, maybe even get stronger before the dragon spawns. But you already saw the poke damage he's able to issue onto somebody like JackeyLove. And that could be a big play, as with Elk going back to base, top esports feel like they want to go for a fight. Just a couple of ultimates being burned on both sides from the supports of all people. And now it's going to be Crisp going for a reset, potentially with the dragon starting up very shortly. And BLG know that now they have the play. They have the opportunity to go for something now in a 4v5.
That's a big ult to get off the Alistar. I don't think they needed the burn Bramall to get that. Of course, Bramall went wide too as BLG. Now they're the ones that played through bot. They give up mid control with Elk having the late base. And we're going to have to see. They're going to pull this one fast. No one's behind them yet.
Again, it's a soul picked up for BLG if they can secure this dragon, but Kanavi wants to make sure that does not happen. The Grand Starfall already being issued, but the seismic shove does connect onto Creme, who's already half HP. There's a cease and desist. It's on a JackeyLove, but he killer instincts away. The soul secured for Bilibili Gaming, but can they win the fight? It looks like they will. Off of Knight's seismic shove, finding two more members. Creme's the last remaining survivor. It is a 5-for-0 ace as Bilibili Gaming grasp control of game number 1.
What a mess of a team fight from BLG. Both junglers weren't even in the pit to smite down the soul, but Beichuan was playing for the fight, and he played it damn well, as Knight in the back half was the shining light for BLG. That's an Ocean Soul secured, an Otacon secured, and surely a game 1 that is too big to break if you're top esports.
And the scaling is good for top, but I don't know if it's going to be enough against an Ocean Soul and Otacon, and now a 3,000 gold lead here for Bilibili Gaming, the hottest team we've had since the second round robin in the LPL.
Watch the two junglers here, because we're not here to smite for the Ocean Soul. Really good flicker on the Creme as he gets stuck early on. And yeah, I mean, Kanavi got in there, but just wasn't able to connect it with a smite. And we got to return to live. Beichuan, he doesn't have ult, doesn't have flash. He might be going down, TP coming in.
Oh, Bin's here, though. Beichuan's still alive. It forces the flash out of 369, and that's going to be the signal of his demise as the teleports came in from Knight, and Bin was here as well, resulting in that 1-for-1 trade that you're going to take so far. If you're BLG, Creme still looking to go forward. The flash in on Knight is not enough. And Knight is going to survive, and JackeyLove is now 1v1ing Bin with a 3-level disadvantage, and it's going to be BLG gaining control once again. 2 aces in 2 goddamn minutes for BLG.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, top's flipping, and those flips not coming up their way. They take down the newest member of BLG in Beichuan, but BLG going to take a whole hell of a lot more than that. I mean, man, taking inventory of this game, Grapes. It feels like JackeyLove has been pretty invisible.
Hasn't done too much. I mean, he got a couple of early kills on the Kai'Sa, like in the mid lane there, but starting off from that dive, really setting himself up for failure there as Elk has had his number in game number 1.
And this for me is like, this is my whole beef about playing Panth into Taliyah. It's like just your ability to control fights as Taliyah with your E or Q. I mean, even going a damn Rylai's here for Knight. What can you do? Like, this is a low range composition really for top esports. And this is desperation, right? Trying to find the pick, but as you highlighted, Grapes, more gold experience and levels in the pockets of BLG, and Knight on this Taliyah. Yeah, he gets low in the back half here when Creme flashes in and tries to take him down, but not even close enough. As, yeah, I mean, him and Kanavi just going through the rocks. Knight able to flash out. Locket comes in. Good Locket and peel from On. And any hope of a fight win for top esports goes to the wayside as, again, JackeyLove just getting 1v1 by Bin. And this Kai'Sa has really not been able to shine this game.
And don't think he'll have the opportunity to shine for much longer here in this first game as JackeyLove, again, we've liked him on some of the safer picks so far this season, things like the Misfortune and the Ezreal, but even something like the Varus, but it's when he's on the Kai'Sa and some of these more aggressive picks with more agency that he hasn't actually been as strong as the JackeyLove that we know and love for the most part. And that's been one of the big reasons why top esports has maybe not looked as strong here so far in the splits. It's going to be 369 going down again. Kanavi going to basically ult straight to his downfall here. As BLG find 2 more kills and this game's getting out of hand quick.
That was a 300 Spartan ult right there, you know?
For Sparta, you know, you see your brother dying beside you, you're like, all right, you know what? I'm going to make sure we end ourselves in glory here. Yeah. As BLG going to now get the Baron because Kanavi
maybe should have picked better terrain to fight around, you know? Can't take down 10,000 people with 300 in the middle of a lane. You got to find the chokes, Grapes. Hashtag Art of War, but... You see top esports, they're throwing a couple curveballs at BLG to try and win this one, but not looking like there's any hope here this game 1. As, again, just kind of wait until the Fat Lady sings, a.k.a. the Elder Dragon's going to spawn to the buck 50, and Baron buff going to be in tow for BLG as they try and take that one down. JackeyLove going to get a pity prize in the bot lane. That's a lot of gold, thanks to the pity prize, but... Oh, nice. That's going to be a lot more gold going to BLG.
Injury there. Yeah, Elk's going to now have a 3-level lead over JackeyLove as Top Esports are getting collapsed upon in their own base and need to do something about it, otherwise the game will just end on its own. But it looks like the game's going to end nonetheless, as it is Kanavi getting chunked out and taken down by Knight for the first casualty in the fight. Chris going forward. It's going to be the killer instinct from JackeyLove looking to find some sort of trade, as they do find the kill on a Beichuan, and Bin is a little bit collapsed upon right now, but Knight's just too dang strong in this mid lane. On this Talia pick, it's going to be 2 inhibitors going down with the Baron buff in hand, and it could be more soon. As the seismic shove does find JackeyLove. Rylai's having an immediate impact here on this new patch. Elk going forward, looking for the finishing touches here on this game number 1, and there's nothing that the solo laners of TES can do about it. In 28 minutes, it is BLG into the base of top, and looking for revenge off of playoffs last year, looking to repeat what happened in the regular season. As into the Nexus they go, it'll be a Game 1 victory for BLG on red side of all places.
A great game from BLG, as it felt like things could have gotten out of control. Top Esports were actually able to execute that dive on the bot lane, but I think that dive bot lane is why my hair might have been a little bit wild in that one, as well, things were a little bit erratic. They did not let the tower cool down. They ended up getting blasted by the tower in BLG, who lost one more fight after that, but really didn't look back from their grapes.
It wasn't a perfect game from BLG by any means. There were a couple of mistakes that they made in the mid game that Top Esports were able to take advantage of. You know, letting Kanavi get that free invade off and allow for them to get that first blood. I think Creme had at least a decent start to the game, even though it didn't end up working out for him at the end, as Knight really put on an MVP performance for himself. But it just, yeah, BLG just were better in a lot of those early game sequences, and we talked about how important the early game was here in this game, and we saw it right there firsthand.
Yeah, and man, if you're a BLG fan, it's so funny, like, having these two teams go toe-to-toe. So it really feels like the LPL fan base just so wants Top Esports to lose, given what happened split 1 going international, and they so want, like, the saviors of BLG to come back with Beichuan and hopefully be the hope at an international event for LPL fans. And I gotta say, with Top Esports, I mean, covering LPL, like, they were fantastic in the regular season, but this doesn't feel like the same Top Esports that was the seed 1. Again, JackeyLove and Crips has just not been playing as well, and in this case, I do think that draft, like, yes, we could play really hard for side lanes, for solo lanes, but then you put a Kai'Sa in there as well, and I just think that Kai'Sa really struggles in that draft. I don't think it was the right game for that pick, because there's not a lot of stuff that you can use to piggyback or, like, get to the backline, and even if you do, I mean, you gotta dive into a Talia, Rumble, Ezreal. Like, it's really hard to function that game as the Kai'Sa. So a little bit surprised looking back from that pick. And it did feel like, again, once that bot lane dive failed and the Kai'Sa fell behind, we saw Elk's Ezreal, a big pick for both him and JackeyLove, really pop off in this game.
And as the marksmen start to get taken away as we go through Fearless, all of a sudden JackeyLove's champion pool is something that BLG could potentially target here. I mean, we saw them ban away the Misfortune. They picked away the Ezreal. That's not going to be available for the rest of this series. Those are 2 of the most powerful picks that JackeyLove has had this year. And if he's going to be forced off of his comfort, that is a bad sign for TES.
I mean, he's been around for a long time. Like, there are other champs. I mean, his Senna is one of the best in the world. They haven't played it yet. We could easily see that in Fearless today. His Ashe is still 3-0, but it's been mostly Ezreal, Varus, and MF for JackeyLove. And I think that he is elite on those 3 champions. But after that, I don't think he's been quite the same performance with the team. Again, both the Varus, the MF, the Ezreal, a lot of times you can get mid-prio when you rotate there. You can't really push people around early with the Varus and the MF. That is when Top Esports is at their best. When that's not available, sometimes we do see them topple, and this was definitely one where, again, Chris, he didn't let that tower cool down, and yeah, Creme was, he felt the brunt of it in the back half.
Yeah, the heated up tower, I took him down basically in 2 shots. A little bit of help from Elk there on that one, but what was initially a good play for Top Esports on that bottom side, just burning On's flash, turned into all of a sudden a disastrous play after they continued to try to commit. This was something that worked out for TES, as 369 doing a nice job kiting away, and then a bit of an overextension from Beichuan specifically. Yeah. But this was really the last time that we saw Top Esports find any positive momentum.
I do think Beichuan did play a couple plays a little bit too fast in this one. That said, there were a couple other fights, like that Soul fight he played. I thought he played that one really well. So again, this is a player we have to look out for, just given that it is the biggest game that we've ever seen Beichuan play in. As someone that has really gotten an opportunity with BLG to play at a higher level. And we're looking to see if he can cash it in, and this definitely felt like a game one where he could.
Doing a really good job on the Vi. There's Giga Bint, Giga TPing away. A lot of stuff going well for BLG. And again, one of those situations where you look at the seeding of these two teams and it doesn't tell the full story. BLG really struggling with Wei on their lineup for the first half of split number 2. But ever since Beichuan has been here, it's just been so much better. As that is how the Soul got secured, by the way. With Kanavi jumping in, it was just a stray Mystic shot from Elk.
Again, Beichuan had to go over the wall. He played the fight a little bit fast and early, but the fact that Ocean Soul was yoinked away, honestly, I don't think it mattered. I think the way they played the fight, they would have smashed that fight anyway. And Ocean Soul, Ocean Soul is kind of fake in some games, Grapes. Let's be honest. I don't think it really changed the outcome of this one all too much. I think the fight win, it would have been a clean ace regardless, right? And you get the Baron, you kind of play the map out the way you did as BLG, but hey, Soul never hurts. As last-ditch effort was flashing through the rocks onto Talia, but didn't see that. As I know, I've had a lot of beef with the Talia handshake. I'm very surprised that Pantheon was taken first, because I know at one point in the LPL, Talia was 4-0 in games against Pantheon when I was having beef with it early on. I know FPX actually beat it the other day, which I was a little bit surprised about, but if you can't win the front line as Pantheon, I just think that your power as a champion goes down a lot. Like, yes, globally, you have the semi-global to make plays. Yes, you are just ridiculously strong in the first few levels of the game, but if you can't control the front line, like, Pantheon's good in fights, and you need to get his full power out of his kit if you're gonna rotate out auto attacks and actually have more empowered abilities. So if you don't control the front line or win, something that's really tough to do in Talia, that can be hard as Pantheon. And I think the Raiwise, the identity we had there, you could see BLG's ability to really kite, hold space, and when you're doing that against Rumble, Talia, Ezreal, I mean, good luck winning.
The beauty of being on this live patch, you get all the new items, like right into effect going into the playoffs here, as we are a couple of short moments away from unveiling our player of the game. I think it has to go either towards Knight or Elk in that one, Cubby. I'm going Knight. Okay. We're I think I'm
going to take Elk. He just got 2 fed early and was really, really solid. But I also think the Knight had a good one. Even like the side lane deaths he had, I mean, somewhat forgivable when you're going up against Panth Rise, and he did his job, right?
Elk did a lot of that damage in the fights, but I just thought the setups from Knight's Talia, specifically around that fight around the Soul, he had 2 huge combos in a row, one on the Creme and then one on the Kanavi, that ended up securing them that ace. So I always like looking for like the big moment instead of necessarily just like KDA searching, but there were some other mistakes from Knight that I could understand why they did go with Elk, who was the player of the game here for this one.
Boom boom damage award. I fear, Grapes. You know, sometimes it just happens. But
yeah.
Hey, the PTA, the Jack of all trades on the Ezreal was damn good. As Elk, again, a pick not just big for him and BLG, but really big for top esports. Of course, in Fearless Drafts, I think taking Ezreal away from JackeyLove always a win, especially we can do what Elk was able to do in this game.
And so is BLG jumping up to a 1-0 lead in our upper semifinal best of 5 against top esports. However, remember the last time these two teams faced off in the playoffs of Split 1, it was top esports who handled it 3-1. So battle between those two histories here. 2 of our biggest players in the LPL over the last 5 years. Will BLG be able to continue that momentum, or will top esports find the answer right back? We'll find out after this. Before we do so, we want to give a big shout out to all of you watching here on the Twitch chat, and then we are extremely grateful to our Coffee and YouTube subscribers who continue to help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments go into supporting the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it also pays on-air talent and content creators. So you can subscribe to our Coffee. It is linked in the chat right now to unlock perks like early access to content, the ability to ask interview questions in our unique on-site interviews, and to see your name on screen once a month here. So thank you very much to our Coffee supporters and our YouTube subscribers. And for all of you guys, we're going to see that continue here. More LPL coverage coming your way after this.